I've unmuted, but we haven't started the meeting yet. But thank you for muting if you're looking at us from off-site. We'll get started in a couple minutes. We're waiting for one other director.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Yay! Is Tina here?
I'm here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you see the multiple? You don't see the multiple screen, or you do see the multiple?
There's little snowmen in them.
Oh, hang on
there we go. Yeah, I just wanted, before the meeting started, to tell Tina that Spencer is having his first child right now as we speak.
Oh my gosh, how exciting.
It is. He's having a little boy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really happy for him.
It's just so hard to believe that they're all grown up now.
Yeah, they're almost old.
Yeah, exactly.
Scary what that means for us.
I know.
Ah, it's crazy.
Are you near them?
Yeah, I'm sitting in Julie's house right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Tell Julie I said hi.
She's at the hospital. I'm entertaining myself. Yeah, I don't know Haley's last name, maiden name, but she's from the Valley also. There's quite a little, there's a Santa Ynez community right here in Abilene.
Isn't that special?
Yeah, well, it is. Even the ones that still live in the Valley have houses here now.
So Director Van Pelt had his baby today. They had him and his wife had their baby today.
Yes, he had his fifth.
Yeah.
Don't tell me there's a meeting tonight. I just heard that.
And then I have not met Alicia. Is that right? Hi.
Yes, hello. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you and have you on board. It's exciting. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did Tony and Meaden come down or over or whatever it is for the birth?
They're not here right now, but I expect they will come soon. Everybody's one big happy family, so yay.
Yay, yeah, that's correct, yay. As we grow older, we grow wiser.
Yeah. And nothing really matters except being happy and healthy. All that other stuff is just a waste of time.
Exactly.
I don't see Director Redfern.
I think he's the one that just called and said, is there a meeting tonight?
Oh, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Pretty sure that was him.
Well, we know it wasn't me, you, David or Bradley. So that kind of narrows it down.
So in Abilene, is that where, Raul and Liz live also?
I don't think so, but
Yeah.
quite a few. I know there are many Armentas in Texas now. Lorenzo was the first to come, and anyway, there's quite a population, not just in Abilene.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure.
I know you don't think you'd like it here, Tina, but you would like it here.
I would. You could not give me a $3 million home to live in Texas.
But you haven't seen it yet.
Trust me, I don't want to. I'm perfectly happy to just fly right over it and say, yeah, okay.
Oh, man. I love it.
So, she's the vice president, she should.
Right.
Well, I
Yep.
can. I'm waiting for Locke to advise if Frank is on his way or not. We're 5 minutes into the time we should be started. We can go ahead and call the order and take roll call on that jazz if you would like, Mr. Dreisler.
Yes, that sounds good to me. I'm not sure if Frank will make it. It sounded like
Okay.
he probably won't.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me pull up my agenda on my other mobile device here. I thought he was going to be here any minute. We can start with calling to order the meeting, the regular monthly meeting of the Santa Ynez Community Service District on May 17th at 5:30 p.m. And do we do roll call or the flag salute first?
Why don't we do the flag salute first and then we'll do the roll call.
Okay, I would ask Director Beard to lead us in the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Beard. I quietly observed because the lag time can really mess
Recording in
things up.
progress.
Okay, so with that, if we can go ahead and do roll call.
Director Redfern is absent. Director Paddleford.
Here.
Director Beard. Here. Director Van Pelt is absent, and Director and/or Vice President Jones.
Here.
Very good.
Okay, pulling up the PDF of the agenda. I don't have a hard copy. So now we will move to directors' comments. Are there any comments from any directors pertaining to the district or things that are of interest? I see none. Oh, excuse me?
Wait, well,
Nothing for me that's not on the agenda.
Director Redfern did want me to pass on that he would like the district to make their voice known about the crosswalks at the high school and across the Chumash, that he would prefer that those be lit up or blinking type lights when pedestrians are going through those two crosswalks. So I did tell him that I would bring that up at the meeting as one of his comments.
I also had a comment along those lines. I think that that is of interest to our community, and in light of losing a constituent, a longtime friend and Valley resident, Bob Miller, at the just crossing the street there. It's beyond tragic, and we're lucky that those things don't happen more often. But I agree with Director Redfern, and I'm not sure what would make a difference, but I know there is plenty of room for improvement there at both of those locations that Director Redfern mentioned. So that is my comment.
And that was the high school and where?
At Cuesta, there, by the valet parking entrance to the casino, the Miller family was having their weekly dinner there, and the gentleman, Bob Miller, walked normally. His family, they would drive there together, and then Bob would usually choose to walk home. He lived by Director Beard, by Director Van Pelt, and they were our customers when they lived on Paloma off Faraday for many years, and they moved over to Deer Trail. But they were some of the original people in our district when our district formed. And anyway, he was struck, and nobody was doing anything bad. It's just a very dangerous place to cross. So there'll be more information that comes out. But I think everybody that serves on this board knows that 246 is a very difficult place to cross. And there are occasions when you need to, both at the casino and at the high school. So I maybe we can talk more about that, put it on the agenda or whatever President Redfern would like to do, but I 100% agree.
I'm in agreement also that we should push for it. That's a bad intersection. There's been more than one, there's a child killed at that intersection also about 5 years ago.
Right, the one at Refugio and 246 where the young lady was killed. There is a process of finding out how many incidents there have been on the state highway there. But I think we at least have a moral obligation to do better, if not a legal one. So thank you, Director Beard. I agree. So if there are no other director comments, then I would ask if there are any public comments. I believe I saw, let's see, participating other than me, there is at least one other person on the Zoom call. If anyone would like to make a comment that is not in the room, a public comment, something that is not agendized, if you could make yourself known or raise your hand. And I would ask our General Manager, Mr. Dreisler, do you see anyone wishing to speak?
I don't. I know that I see Ludwig online, and I know that he's a customer on Deer Trail, and I think he may just be interested in watching the proceedings and possibly in one of our information items later on in the agenda. So I'm glad that he could attend and happy to take comments from
Okay.
Ludwig.
I will trust you, Mr. Dreisler, and is it Mr. Ludwig? I'm not sure if that's the first.
That's his first name. That's his first
Okay,
name.
if that gentleman would like to comment at any point, you can make yourself known to our General Manager, Mr. Dreisler, and he will make sure you have an opportunity. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the General Manager report.
Very good, thank you. I did just want to note that we did get the notice of withdrawal and closure of the PERB cases, the 2 PERB cases, and I have the written documents in my files now, and I think it's great news, and I'm sure now we're probably looking towards some positive future negotiations with that. We did finalize new trench details after some of the experiences that we had with the Horizon Drive easement. So we finalized those with Canon Engineering, so those will be a nice addition to our standard details. And also I did make the website updates that we brought up at the last meeting, and I think there's probably a few more, and I hope to get through the entire website within the next couple of weeks and make sure it's all up to date.
Thank you.
That's it for my report.
Thank you very much. Is Mr. Battles going to be joining us this evening?
No, but he did help me with a memo that we're going to be talking about in the information items. And there's a recommendation, or actually 2 recommendations that we can talk about at that time on how to proceed as he heads towards retirement. And I also thought maybe at the next meeting that we would do something for him, maybe a half hour before the meeting starts, just to thank him. We'll thank him formally at the meeting, but also thank him informally at the June meeting.
Is he coming to the meeting?
Well, he is now.
He is now. He has to.
Locke, you may not be in charge of any surprise birthday parties. Okay, I saw that in the agenda, saw the report, so I look forward to discussing that when we get to it. And then how about Secretary Treasurer report?
Nothing to report this evening. I am still the approved Secretary Treasurer. I think we'll probably be changing that in the near future. I may continue to be the treasurer, but that'll be a part of a future discussion.
Okay. Committee reports, I will start by just reminding that we have an upcoming at-large election meeting, Director Paddlefort and I, and we will report on that following our meeting at the next regular meeting. And then I see we also have a wastewater committee meeting coming up, and I anticipate you will be discussing what we talked about at the last meeting.
Yes,
Anybody from the
that's what-
wastewater committee? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Dreisler.
Sorry, I did put that there just as a prompt. That part of it will be to talk about what we talked about at the last meeting in terms of the Chumash Administrative Building. And the other portion of that would be part of one of the information items that we have coming up later on in the agenda, possible open house in June to talk
Okay.
about the sewer.
Very good. If there's nothing else there, let us move on to the consent items. The directors have all received a copy of the proposed minutes, the draft meeting minutes of our April meeting, regular meeting, April 19th, the Finance Committee meeting minutes, May 9th, and we also had a list of disbursements. Is there any discussion? I know we had a chance to go over it. I had a couple of questions regarding the disbursements, but I would open it up to the other directors present if they have any questions, comments, or revisions suggested.
I don't.
No.
Okay, my only question, I think Mr. Dreisler could help me. We had some unusual expenses, particularly to employees and former employees. Was that part of a back pay agreement? Our disbursements looked a little different than normal.
Yes, the totals that you see to some of our current employees and some of our previous employees, that was the overtime in lieu of calculations that we had. We discussed that probably 4 or 5 months ago with the board, and if we stayed under a threshold, which I believe was $10,000, then we were going to move forward with that. We had approval from the union, and we had our labor attorney also look at the calculations, and they both approved of the results via email. So we did produce those checks, and those are out now. So that is behind us.
Yay.
And so,
Everything in payroll was all caught up and
I believe so.
awesome.
that was my question as well. So now moving forward, at this time, we do not owe any back pay or have any obligations, or we're squared away with our former staff members and current. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions before I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay, then I would, I wonder if there is a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
Director Beard has made the motion. Director Paddlefort has seconded the motion. May we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Paddleford,
I,
Director Beard.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Then with that, we shall move on to our action items. The first one is for 2023-2024 budget. And I will hand that over to our General Manager Treasurer, Mr. Dreisler.
Thank you, Vice President Jones. We have the 2023-2024 draft budget as part of the attachment to this memorandum. So that's attached for review. I do want to say that with some work with the Finance Committee that we did look at this stuff 3 different times. The last time was on May 9th, 2023. I tried to outline some of the specific budget considerations. One was the Solvang wastewater treatment plant. I have decided that should be in the operating expenses versus part of our capital improvement projects, because that seems to make more sense to me. And also just to remind everybody that we don't have that much control over their capital expenditures, which also seems like it lends itself to being in the operating expenses more than our capital improvement projects. We have the COLA. I did talk with our labor legal counsel about this, and this was part of his recommendation. I did have one alternative in there, but I would say based on last year's COLA that I've seen some of the other agencies that the staff would recommend leaving this at 3.5 for now, in recognition that there will likely be future negotiation. And the other one was just a reminder that the Horizon Mainline Extension project debt is $87,000 annually. And then on the back page or the second page of the board memo, there's another reference there about the Solvang's wastewater treatment plant being in the operating expenses. And then the capital projects that I show are totaling about $95,000. And then I did something that probably is a little different than the previous budget, was put deferred capital projects separately, that they're not really in the budget unless I think we're going to do those projects. So I did want to keep those at least at the forefront of our thought process.
is that a wish list thing?
Yeah, more of a wish list type thing, not to be included in the budget. But I also think, depending on some of our capital funds that might come in beyond what we estimated, that we might go down the path of doing some of the planning and design stages on those first 2, just so that when they do come up for doing the project, that have those first 3 or 4 months under our belt and can more quickly adapt to doing those projects.
That makes sense. I would also like to comment on, I'm not looking at it right now, but I recall that C and D were new truck and replacing the camera. And on those 2 things, I can't speak for Director Redfern, but I know at previous meetings, I understand why we need to leave those in the budget, because there are things we need to hold a place and they could be something we need. But those are also items that we may choose as a board to rent as needed. But I agree with leaving them in the budget for now, but I don't want to give the impression that we're getting ready to buy a new camera or a new truck. Okay, any questions of Mr. Dreisler before we move on to the next part of 7B, the tax roll resolution? Apparently not, so let's go ahead and go to B, the tax roll resolution, and I will let Mr. Dreisler explain that.
Excuse me for one moment. I just wanted to say that it would be good. I don't need a motion, but I just want to make sure that I have direction to do the public notice process for the annual budget, and then that'll be back to us next month for final approval by the board.
The Finance Committee has recommended this, so yeah.
Well, as a salute to Mr. Battles, I say that we do a roll call vote on whether we accept the finance committee's recommendation, because Mr. Battles always errs on the side of caution. So we can do a roll call vote if you would like, unless that's out of line.
No, that's fine fine with me. We would appreciate that, I think. Vice President Jones,
Aye.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Paddleford.
I,
And just to clarify that, that's not necessarily a motion in a second. That was more of an approval for the directive to move forward.
Yes, I didn't call for the motion. That was a little sloppy. See, when Rick isn't here, I get a little wobbly. So, okay, but we can, however you
was
wanted to
fine.
document that.
No, that was fine. That's all I was looking for was the directive. So,
isn't our next directive to publish it? Isn't that what we'll do now?
yeah, it outlines it here in the board memo. So I'll consider that as the directive.
Okay.
It's required by law, but just making sure that we make sure that our general manager has the authority he needs to carry that out. So with that, if we can move on to the tax roll resolution, which is item 7B, Mr. Dreisler.
I always hesitate to say that this is mostly procedural, but this really is mostly procedural, and it's something that I see that we're right on task with previous years with the district. And this will be approving this resolution as part of the process of placing the sewer fees and other related fees on the tax roll. And I did see that I made one error on the attachments. The resolution isn't 22-419, it's 23-517. And then there's also a reference to the public hearing notice that will go in SYCSD news as well. And I saw one tiny error at the top of the heading where roll and are together, but I will solve that problem before it goes to the public.
Okay, and for clarification, I know that you were unable to see when we initiated the tax roll collection, but it was in the aunts. It was not that long ago, and I know both Director Redfern and I have both expressed that we like the monthly payment, but we also recognize how unrealistic and troublesome it would be to try and do it any differently right now. So with that, I would call for a motion to adopt resolution 23. Did you say I got the wrong number here?
No, you have the right one on the agenda.
Okay.
It was the wrong one on the memo, board memo.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution 23-517 of the Community Service District to electing to have sewer fees collected on tax rolls. Do I have a motion?
That motion.
Director Paddleford has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Director Beard has made the second. Mr. Dreisler, can you do the roll call?
Yes, Vice President Jones,
Yes.
Director Paddleford,
I,
Director Beard.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Very good. Thank you. And now we shall go on to 8A. These are all informational items. They were not being asked to take action on anything. So if the general manager can take over the informational item portion of the meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Vice President Jones. The first one was in regards to a question that came up at the last board meeting, and there was a directive to bring that back at the next meeting. So we found the resolution 1713 that talks about employees of the district, and that board of directors are defined as employees of the district. And I believe at that time we had Mr. Battles and our auditor online, and they both had something similar to say as what's in this resolution. It was Mr. Battles had recalled the previous resolution that outlined this, and the auditor, I believe, talked about some of the insurance requirements in terms of the district and the directors also. So I just wanted to bring this back and show you that it was a resolution back from 2017 likely, and it's good to, I think, bring these out once in a while as a reminder to what we had done previously.
I was the one vote against it. It was a 4-1 vote. I was still a little wet behind the ears, but I didn't like it. I understand that it was done for, I think, to at least paraphrase Mr. Battles, simply to please the IRS. They like it that way. But yeah, kind of a weird thing, but it did
Oh, I
happen.
thought it was California law,
IRS.
the IRS, okay. I thought it said it was California law.
Nope. We voted on it. We voted to become employees.
I think you see this question come up often. There's a CSDA website where people ask questions, and this one I think is a reoccurring theme on that website.
So anybody that wants to do a deep dive can do it. So, but with that, let's go ahead and move on then to 8B, request for proposal for legal counsel retainer agreement for Mr. Battles. I will also let Mr. Dreisler discuss this. We had a lot of information in our packet on it. So if Mr. Dreisler would like to summarize, and then we can ask some questions.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention to Director Beard, they're all under 8A. I think if you have a tab, if you're looking for the tab.
Oh,
And if you just turn to the next page, there
Okay.
should be an 8B in there.
okay.
I don't know if we'd ever done multiple informational items in writing before, so that, but anyhow, the next page has the 8B information item.
And
I did
before,
talk,
I'm sorry, before you start, there was a question that I had before we get into deep. This is an informational item, but one of the suggestions regarded forming an ad hoc committee. And that would require an action by the board, correct?
that's correct, right?
Because one thing that I was thinking as just an option, and then you can get into your presentation, but we have a standing personnel committee, and that is Director Van Pelt and I, and we don't have a lot of committee work. It's pretty much the annual, the review of the GM. So I would like that to be a consideration rather than ad hoc, especially since we want to get this done. But okay, go ahead. I won't interrupt you again.
So I did talk to our legal counsel, and we shared some of the duties here with this document. One of the things that he thought about was one of the options is to form an ad hoc committee so that we can look at some of the questions that are mentioned later in this memo. And I think probably the most significant item at the end of where it says formation of ad hoc committee is the very last sentence. It also said, in addition, the full board, later on it says the full board needs to make this final decision in terms of who the attorney is that we hire. So the ad hoc committee wouldn't necessarily be the one making that final determination. So, and I think that's wise counsel on Mr. Battle's part. So the two approaches he recognized here is one is a request for proposals as a preliminary matter, and the other one was direct contact of candidates. And that could be something that is decided by an ad hoc committee or the personnel committee, if we so choose. It might be worthy of us looking at what the duties or responsibility of the personnel committee are. And I'm not sure if they could go down that path when choosing the legal counsel. But we can ask Mr. Battles about that, I think. Go ahead, Karen. You're muted.
You're
right
muted.
There. I am not saying that either committee, be it a standing or an ad hoc, clearly this is a board decision. But as far as doing some of the basic housekeeping of it, whatever we decide committee work, but it's like a general manager. We did not have a committee hire a general manager, and that is clear. That we can't do either committee. We definitely can't do an ad hoc committee by moving it to an action item if it wasn't agendized. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that makes sense to me as well. Part of my thought process was on the second page of this memo was other considerations is one thing that the ad hoc committee might go down and determine what the answers to those should be. But we do have an option to have the retainer with Mr. Battles, and we can look at the details with that as well. But he was thinking about doing something where we would be able to retain him for a year for a fixed fee. And under those circumstances, we probably would be able to use him for the next month or two if we needed to, or we don't make a decision about our next legal counsel in that same time frame.
Not much for change. I'd rather retain him. That pushes the can down the road a year.
Well, there's also a lot to consider. I think you're right, Director Paddleford. Some of the suggestions made in that memo had to do with being covered by a big law firm that specializes in public boards, and then get somebody, if we have a special need, whether it be a labor attorney or redistricting, et cetera. But those are all kind of big decisions. It's an opportunity to do some reform of how we do things now. And I think it would be really nice if we don't make a decision tonight, but the segue being Mr. Battles is a very attractive option. I agree.
And we might choose that option regardless of whether we get additional legal counsel or not. Just some of the items he talked about is, the institutional knowledge that he has, and just being able to pass on that information over a longer span of time than what might normally happen under other circumstances. One of our other options too, and I don't like to pull this card out all the time, but we could also have a special meeting to formulate the ad hoc committee. And I think that could be a relatively short meeting depending on other time schedules, but that would be an option if we want to move a little bit quicker on this than waiting till the next board meeting.
Director Beard, how do you feel about that? The suggestion.
I don't have a problem with keeping them on for a while, keeping them on for a period of time, even up to a year, but I think we should have a plan to have someone, new counsel on for him to bring them up to speed.
I'm interested in if you have a problem with doing this at a special meeting, because there is that consideration. There's a lot to talk about here. And our general.
I don't have a problem. I welcome.
How about you, Director Paddleford? Would you be available to do a special meeting so we can get into this a bit?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Then I say we do that, and then we will figure out how we're going to proceed at the special meeting. So we'll leave it to you to schedule that, Mr. Dreisler.
Very good. I'll look at the calendars, maybe even before the meeting ends, and at least throw out one suggestion, and then we can at least decide if that's will work for everybody or not, or I'll do something that'll include everybody in that process. But we need 3 for the special meeting. So, okay, it's very good. I have direction on that. I did want to, just point out that last portion that Rick Battles had written about representing the district for 23 years and working with his board members and staff has been a privilege. He very much appreciates the confidence the district placed in him by allowing him to serve as legal counsel. And the last part, of course, is I'll be available to assist with recruiting and selecting the district's new general counsel as needed.
He's great. It was a fun process getting to know him as a new board member and being a bit of an outsider. We had a great evolution of our relationship, and I really appreciate him. Okay, so we can move on to the Horizon Easement Remediation Project. You also did a great report explaining options here, and so I will turn it over to you again, Mr. Dreisler.
Thank you, Vice President Jones. I think the key to this is that first the top portion of this where it says staff's working to ensure that neighbors wanting to complete the Calle Pico sewer main line extension. We want to make sure they have friendly communications while getting signatures for an easement from that middle property. If some of that doesn't quite make sense, I did try to put a graphic of the Calle Pico project easement on the back, but essentially, and I did bring in the big whiteboard too, that's up by the TV screen. Essentially, those 4 properties that are shown in gray now, see those dashed lines, right, that sort of bisects those 4 properties. That's where the new mainline extension is going in. And I tried to highlight, at least the directors here, the yellow property, that's the hard property or the middle property. You can just see just a little rectangular tab right in the middle of that, where the Calle Pico extension needs to access that while they attach their main line to that existing main line that runs from Horizon to 246. So I think in general, that would be a relatively easy operation. Mr. Hart has expressed some of his concerns though, and we've been working with him. We've been out on the property. We've solved or repaired the subsidence as it happens. And we've talked to him multiple times, but I think he was looking for something in writing, or something a little more solid that shows that the board's aware of what's happening on his property and that we do want to solve some of the problems. And really the main one that we have right now is the gravel driveway needs to be recompacted in some locations, which will require us taking up some of the gravel that's there now, possibly doing a little bit of grading and then putting something down that's that will be better than what's there now in terms of compaction. So for me, that's why I made this information item. Doesn't really need to be a decision. If we do any projects that cost more than $25,000, we'll bring it back to the board for approval. But we're looking at least right this moment to do most of this in-house with our staff, but we are going to have to buy materials and rent some equipment to do some of this work. I was hoping to use this sort of as a springboard to show Mr. Hart that we're showing good faith and we do want to solve the problems that he's outlined for us.
Yeah, I think all of the board members want to solve the problem and fix it.
Oh, not me. I just love talking about it every week. What will we do?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I would like to say that I think that our staff has done an excellent job in interacting with the folks. And I hope that they're happy. I got that feeling reading the report that they are not feeling neglected or like we're not being responsive. And I'm glad we're being apprised of it. But I have confidence in you and staff being able to resolve problems as they come up.
Very good. Thank you for that vote of confidence.
Don't make me sorry. Okay, so that is going to be it on the informational items, correct?
Oh, we have one last informational item that I did not do.
Oh,
right.
the open house.
The open house, and possibly why Ludwig, or at least hopefully Ludwig will hear a little bit about what we're doing. There's 2 things really happening at the same time, and I was hoping that I could combine them almost in the, the kill 2 birds with 1 stone philosophy. But we have a district meeting coming up next week to talk about district division. And part of that meeting was to look at the district divisions and, if possible, get to that point where we'll have something to present to the general public about how the district will be divided. So part of the district division is public outreach and have people be able to give their input on whether they think the district division will be appropriate or not. But the other thing I did mention, I think a couple meetings ago, was to have an open house to talk about the sewer extension, to make that part of our public outreach with the sewer extension. We had, especially after the rain, we had more than a few people come in that were really interested in finding out what they need to do and what we need to do. And so we've had people on Deer Trail, we had people on Stadium Drive, we had quite a few people on Country Road. I just thought it would be good to have something maybe from 10 to 2 in the afternoon to try to make it a decent time frame where people could come in, just more of a drop in. Maybe do a mini presentation at 10 or promote the mini presentation, but also talk about the district divisions and sewer extension at the same time. So I don't have all the details worked out. I'm hoping that we can work out some more of those after our district division meeting next week, but it'll be in progress. And hopefully I was going both ways, but I'm thinking more about having the meeting, the open house after our June meeting, but we can adapt with that open house, whether it's before the board meeting or after the board meeting.
I like it. I like the double play. You could always do Rick's party and make it a trifecta. Kidding, of course. Rick deserves a standalone. But no, I think that's a great idea, Mr. Dreisler. And some of the earlier comments, director comments, including what you presented for President Redfern, I think it's a great opportunity. Also, Director Van Pelt has talked more about the interface with the community. I like it. I think you're moving in the right direction.
I'm going to unmute Ludwig just to do it, and not to put you on the spot, Ludwig, but if you did want to say something, I know you've been interested in finding about the sewer expansion and connection. You don't need to say anything if you don't want to. I'm glad that you joined us this evening and can see it. I see you unmuted.
Yeah.
So.
Are you hearing me?
Yep,
Yes.
perfectly.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I'm following you, and I just wanted to see how these things are happening. It's a new one to me. These local administrations and representations, very interesting. But so we don't have any news on the sewer extension. I'm of course very interested in. We're a bunch of neighbors. We are waiting, so to speak, you know.
Well,
I mean,
I'm glad.
I paid you a visit on half a year ago, I think, you know, and you had some plans there, and I know it's moving slowly, but where are we going with this thing?
Well, I'm hoping you can join us in our open house in next month. And we did have a meeting about the sewer extension at the last, it might have been 2 board meetings. I'm a little bit of a time warp, but we did have Matt Vanderlinden from Canon Engineering come in and talk to us about the sewer extension, which included Deer Trail. And he gave us some idea of costs, but also cautioned us that we need to do some additional work before we come up with an additional cost for the project. But I'm glad that you came, and I hope you tell your neighbors to pay attention for the upcoming open house, and we'll try to make sure that we do as much outreach as possible.
I will do that then. Thank you.
Ludwig, before
Yes.
you go, I would like to say that I've been on the board since 2016. And at that time, there was a group of people that had been waiting to get a extension of the main line to their homes since the early to mid 90s. And them wanting it made it happen. So I would encourage your friends and neighbors to come, because the public interest is going to be the driving force here. And if you guys want it, it's going to happen a lot faster. And so I really appreciate you coming and learning, making contact with Mr. Dreisler. Our office is open Monday through Friday, and I'd love to see you get more involved.
Yeah, of course, I'm very interested in it's a self-interest, because my sewer system is very shaky right now. And I don't know, the sanitary district of Santa Barbara, sanitary district, they want me to connect to the sewer, you know, and I don't want to put no septic tank in there or go with these expenses, you know, if it's so close in front of me. So I don't know how to negotiate that, you know, the waiting and the uncertainty and having an unstable septic system. So from a homeowner's perspective, it's sort of, I'm in limbo. And but as it looks like, I think we are still a couple of years down the road. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think it is fair to say we'd like it to be a faster process, but you know, it does take time. How long did it take us to put Horizon together?
So the problem is here, the sanitary district doesn't let me repair the septic tank. It forces me to put a new one in.
I
That's
think
not-
what you're going to find that working with our staff really does make it go faster, and I don't want to put a certain time on it.
Yeah.
But I know that it was dragging forever, and it was a start and stop thing with the folks on Horizon Drive. But once the neighbors committed, it happened pretty fast. It was just, you know, a matter of getting people to buy in and demonstrating a need. So
The question is, are you communicating with the sanitary district, with the county? Are you communicating, you know? Maybe they can get me some relief, you know, if I say, okay, we are working on it and they give me some leeway, or I can buy some time, you know?
I understand your point. I see Mr. Dreisler making a note, and we do communicate, but when you give us a specific, you know, we have a very good staff here, and keep following up and see what can happen. Just by showing up and talking to people, I think is a big first step. And I know that Mr. Dreisler will do what he needs to do to get information to you and to communicate and act as an intermediary when appropriate.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there anything you would like to add there, Mr. Dreisler? You're the GM. You probably would know better.
Well, I just want to say, I think it's the county health department that has given him the notice for the septic system, but
Yes.
I think it's a good idea for me to contact the county health system in regard to his property in particular and just say, here's the stage we're at and here's where we're hoping to move toward. So I will definitely do that.
And how can you help us get there? Like if we all work together as a team, it will happen even faster.
Yeah.
But I
And the
appreciate
more-
that, Mr. Dreisler.
And the more of your neighbors that show up and say they want to go onto the system, that
There is I think there's a misconception, you know, because if you go out and try to solicit people, they think they have to pay up. Their thinking is, oh, my septic system works fine. Why do I need a sewer system, you know? But I think it doesn't work that way.
no, you would never be forced to go. We would never force you to go on one. The only way they would be forced to go on one is if their system failed
Exactly.
and there's a sewer line within 200 feet of their property.
Yeah. And that point, I think, is lost. They think, you know, they feel threatened by the $50,000 connection fee, and they say, oh, I don't need that, you know? So I don't even give my approval to it. If we go
Well,
on and try to get support for that. Let's say- Yeah.
People
Go ahead.
are required to pay for the service, not just on a monthly or on the tax rolls, but there is a buy-in cost to
Sure.
build the main line,
Sure.
but nobody is forced to pay it until they want to be on sewer. So
Correct.
that's why the open house, people don't have to want to be on sewer to come to our open house and learn more.
Yeah.
And you also don't have to, Director Beard is an example of somebody who was interested in how things were working and unhappy with some things, and he got elected. And as far as I know, your position hasn't changed. Your sewer or your septic is working, Director Beard. You're comfortable with it. So you can serve on the board and not be connected to sewer. You just have to live in the district, and we appreciate people who want to stay on septic. That's fine, but we would like to be able to provide services to people who want or need sewer.
Yeah, I agree.
So invite somebody, even if they don't agree, you can have them come and ask questions, and Director Beard is a fine example of somebody who chooses to be on septic but still serves his district.
I mean, what it is basically, you cannot lose supporting the sewer system. Even if your septic works, you can't lose supporting it, and this point, I think, is not coming through because people feel afraid and they say my sewer system, septic system is working fine. What do I need a sewer for? So that's a thinking because they are not informed correctly.
Well, this is our job, and this
Yeah.
is why Mr. Dreisler is doing the open house. We're going to have more public outreach, and we're going to continue to do our best to educate the public on why having sewer available is a win-win, whether you're on sewer or not. So
Exactly.
thank you very much for coming and asking these questions. This meeting is on Zoom, but it will be up on YouTube. If anybody, you don't have to watch the whole couple hours. They can fast forward to this part of the discussion. And we welcome people to ask questions. We like people to contact staff. We want an educated population in our district. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if that is it, is there anything else, Mr. Dreisler, before we call for an adjournment? There is no closed session tonight. Then I would ask for a motion. Oh, sorry, did I interrupt someone?
No, that's fine. I said that was the perfect ending.
I'll make a
Yes.
motion to-
Okay, so Director Beard has made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I second.
Director Paddleford has seconded the motion. Mr. Dreisler? Roll call vote?
Wait, hold it. Before we close the meeting, I do have one other thing.
Yes.
Listening to that gentleman speak, I think we need to come up with a way, and I don't know who this would go out to, PR firm or media firm or whatever, but we need to come up with a way that shows people how investing in the sewer is an investment and not a liability. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And it's part of what I think is exciting about Director Van Pelt, his suggestion to have a public interface. He is already getting a lot of response just as a neighbor out walking and talking, but to get information to our district. It's not a large district, and peer-to-peer communication is great. Our interface committee may want to do paid advertising, but I agree with you that education is key to our success.
I'd love to see something really professional, like a little brochure, nothing fancy or anything, but maybe just a little like travel brochure type thing, that folds up and, and you can unfold it and see where you are and where the sewer is and it explains, what it is we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. Because like, I got the impression from listening to him speak, he needs sewer now, or would like to have it as soon as possible. And a lot of people don't want sewer because they think their septic is perfect. Well, your septic is perfect until it's not. So,
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I agree. If we have a brochure, in everybody's mailbox on the planned sewer line, that would give credibility and authority. If I put a flyer into the mailboxes, I don't have the credibility or I don't have that, but if it's coming from you, that would be quite different.
We are probably about due to do another newsletter, which we have done intermittently. We haven't done it since we have our change of secretary staff, but that is something that I see Mr. Dreisler making a note. That's something that we can do in the immediate future. And as our general manager sees appropriate, we can agendize this, but definitely the committee needs to meet. Newsletter, but I have a
Newsletter
feeling we're gonna pick up
in-
some steam here.
In paper or?
Yes,
Yeah, very good, very good. So it
yes,
lands.
we mail those out. and
Yeah,
we-
yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's time to do another one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good idea, good idea.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting. We have by Director Beard. We have a second by Director Paddlefort. Mr. Dreisler, would you like to do roll call?
Yes, Vice President Jones,
Yes.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Director Paddleford,
I,
and a late entry with Director.
You're gonna abstain, I don't know what we're talking about.
Was that Director Redford? I saw somebody in a red shirt. I didn't think it was him. I thought he was on a ball court somewhere.
I was until I found out there was a meeting tonight.
The motion passed,
My channel's still on the court.
the motion passes.
The motion passes, and I will talk to you soon. I'll probably give Director Redfern a call tomorrow, but thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And do it. When are you coming back?
Soon, too much fun
Recording
stuff
stopped.
going on.
Oh.
Right.
All
Yeah,
right.
I've got good and bad things happening very intensely, and it's I keep saying in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, I just want to know what the hell you guys are quitting 1 hour for.
Because we
That
just
never,
went-
never happens when I'm here.